Good morning, day number 8. I'm still going to try to bring more energy so I can actually somewhat look like I'm awake before I do my morning routine. But we all know this is exactly why I'm doing this. When we wake up, we're chronically dehydrated and the brain doesn't have enough oxygen for your mental clarity. So I got me a little process I've been going through, taking myself through every morning, sharing it with whoever to hopefully just encourage myself, maybe somebody else. But the first thing we're going to do, get your microplastic water bottle, 16 ounces of water. This isn't Redmond salt anymore, it's just the container, but I do have my little quarter tablespoon of pink Himalayan salt. Gonna dump him right in and swig him down. There's still some at the bottom. I probably don't give it enough time to dissolve, but this morning especially, I was thirsty. I could feel myself kind of craving the water. And like I've said before, the salt kind of makes it salty just a little bit, but I know what it's doing and it's keeping me from not peeing. When we sleep, we sweat and we lose moisture that way. And for me, I don't know what it is, but I wake up probably 3 or 4 times at least during the middle of the night to pee. So I actually have like a gallon water jug beside me because it would be ridiculous if I was going to go to the bathroom every time I had to pee. I would never get any sleep. So I just roll over and like some kind of, I don't know, lazy oaf, just and pee into my 1 gallon water jug. I've missed a couple times and that's been horrible. So I do recommend that if you're gonna do that, kind of be somewhat awake so you don't have to clean up, a massive mess of piss. Anyway, we're rambling. I'm gonna get into these push-ups, get the oxygen going to the brain. Remember, that's the main focus. We're not doing push-ups to build muscle. We go to the gym to build muscle. And that's probably what we're gonna talk about today anyway. So anyway, let's get into it. Blessed this morning to not have the sun hiding behind the clouds. It makes the push-ups better because you get to feel the sun warming up your skin. Again, we're gonna hit the gym later. I got arms today, little triceps warm up with the push-ups. Check this chest pump out. Every time I get back on here after I do the push-ups, I think, wow, I did so much better than yesterday. Not in terms of doing the push-ups, but in terms of the cardiovascular and giving out of breath. And generally about the time I get here, I realize I jumped the gun. I've tried to talk too fast and I am giving out of breath. Ooh. But breathing deep, it only does, it only helps drive the oxygen into the brain. A lot of old people that can't even walk anymore, in order to get the oxygen into their brain, they just practice taking deep breaths. Obviously, you'll want to go outside to do that because you want to get as fresh air as possible. But it is possible to oxygenate yourself without, intense physical exercise. And this isn't even that intense. But knocking out push-ups first thing in the morning, it definitely does the trick for me. Now, when we go to the gym, uh, for me, when I first walked in to a Gold's Gym at 17 years old, actually I was like 16 and a half, but had some older guys from work. They could tell that I was interested in fitness because I was kind of a jacked 16-year-old. I had some weights at home. My dad had kind of showed me what to do, but I knew that if I wanted to get jacked, the only way to do that is at the gym. And this was 25 years ago. So really, the internet was there, but the information wasn't on the internet yet. It's still very, very new. And so a lot of times we got our information from books. So I got the Arnold book. This is his autobiography. This was the thin one. This was way before the massive Arnold encyclopedia. So I got that one. The first one was kind of like an autobiography, and then he went into like body weight exercises, stuff you could do at home, and then he showed you like more of the gym routine, and that was my introduction. So I went to Gold's Gym. When I walked into the door, the first person I saw was a guy they called Flex. I ended up being his friend years later because he was into professional wrestling and I got into professional wrestling later. But I just remember seeing his calves. I mean, the dude had like, he was only like 5'6", but this dude had at least 20-inch calves. And I was just so fixated. That was the first time in my life where I had been fixated on another dude's body part. And it does sound kind of gay, but you know how it is in gym culture. We're always kind of admiring someone else and giving guys props, especially, when they deserve them. But that was my introduction to Gold's Gym. And the foundation of my training was Arnold-esque, meaning a lot of volume. So, like, for example, a chest day, you would start off with like a flat bench and you do 5 sets, but you're pyramiding up in weight, right? And that pyramid up also kind of serves as a warm up. It's a little bit cloudy there, but you're going to do 5 or 6 sets, work up to maybe 1 or 2 heavy sets. Then you go to an incline, then you go to a decline, then you go to a fly. It was a lot of volume. My parents were super cool, and anytime I was interested in anything at all, as long as it wasn't anything like weird or creepy, they were all in. So they would go and buy me books. They got me subscriptions to Flex magazine and to Muscular Development. And that was when my eyes really started to open up and to see, especially with the muscular development, because the Flex magazine was still a waiter or a weeder. I don't even know how to say his name. I've been reading it for years. Company. So it was a little bit more like mainstream, and they wanted to make sure, that their audience was growing and happy and it was wholesome kind of content. But the muscular development, it kept it raw. It did a lot of like PED stuff. Um, Greg Valentino, the guy whose arms exploded with the 25-inch arms, he had a column. He was all into like trannies. This was like way back then. So they would combine like lifestyle and fitness. And that was so entertaining to me. Was I liked learning from these guys about the gym, but hearing about their stories outside of the gym was almost just as entertaining. But one day, what really changed for me is my dad went to a yard sale and he brought all these books home. And there was a guy I had never heard of, Mike Mentzer, and then this guy that had kind of somewhat trained him, tutored him, uh, a guy named Ellington Darden, and then of course the most famous guy, Arthur Jones, the guy that invented Nautilus equipment. But back then they were preaching a radical message of we're overtraining, we're doing far too much work in the gym, and that we could actually do far less work, increase your intensity, and you'll get a whole lot more out of what you're of the time you're putting in. The foundation for this is strength increases. Uh, if you're or not maintaining, but if you're going up in strength every workout, and if your diet is on point, and in this case, your diet would need to be in a caloric surplus, not a massive one, but a slight caloric surplus. You combine the strength with the calories, you're going to get stronger, and your body has to compensate by building muscle. And I went, oh man, I just ate this up. So it got to the point when I was 19 years old, freshman in college, my leg routine was this. It was one set of leg extensions to failure, followed immediately, supersetted with a set of heavy leg presses. And that's I did one set of each as hard as I could, and I would write down what the weights I used and the reps. And every week I would have to beat these numbers. Well, the problem was it got to a point where I would be so super fixated on the workouts that's coming up. I really lost the joy of actually training because I was so focused on an arbitrary number that I had to hit. And if I didn't hit this number, I was a failure. I remember the first time where I didn't get like a rep increase with the same weight from the week before. I was devastated. Like I literally, I took 2 or 3 days off of the gym. It was like this huge mental thing with me that I could not get over. I just remember thinking, I kept at it, but I remember thinking, man, something's got to change. Well, something finally did change, and it was sort of a natural thing. I ended up going away to school for a little bit. So when I got to school, they've obviously got a gym, but their leg extension and their leg press wasn't the same one I had back home. So how in the world can I use the same weights and reps when the machines are different? Because we all know the machines are, they've got different pulleys, they've got different attachments, everything, the nuances of the machines are going to be different. So the weight you used on one machine will not translate to another. Even on a leg press, some of the leg presses, the angles are different, the back seat is different, just the overall feel of the movement is different, and you can't compare the two. So eventually I settled on my somewhat current routine that I have now, which is still Mike Mentzer esque, but it's nothing crazy, like only on 2 sets a week. So I'll take you through, like, probably my best body part is chest. I probably do like maybe 7 or 8 working sets at most. But for like incline barbell, it's probably my favorite exercise. I can work up to sets of 225, hit it anywhere between 10 and 12. I usually go in 135, knock out 10 or 12. 185, I usually knock out 10 or 12. That's only 2 warm-up sets. But I'll do some shoulder circles with some weights for my shoulder. I don't know if you just, oh, hear that pop? So I'll definitely do some rotator cuff exercises and warm-ups. And then I pretty much go right into a set of 225. My record uh, has been 17 reps on the incline with 225. That was like 12 years ago. I'm happy to be able to get it, like I said, 10 or 12 now. I hadn't even been going that heavy lately. But anyway, that's how I approach the incline. Then I might do like a flat dumbbell fly. Say warm up the same way, at least 2 warm up sets, and then pick a weight that's challenging where I'm going to hit muscular failure, maybe around 10 reps. I don't really go super heavy anymore because I'm old and you heard the shoulder. But that's generally my approach to training now. But moving forward, I see a lot of old dudes in the gym still getting it, PEDs or not, no TRT or not. Right now, I've never been tested for my testosterone level, but at age 41, I feel good and I don't really feel like I need it. Plus, I don't want to lose my hair. I know a lot of guys, they jump on TRT and maybe they don't have the best doctor supervising them or whatever, and they start losing their hair. And I feel so blessed that I actually have a decent head of hair that I should probably comb more, at my age. But like I was saying, just getting older and moving forward, the main thing is you've got to understand that progressive overload has got to be the foundation of your training. Any training system has got to be getting you stronger on some level so your body will compensate by adding muscle tissue. That's the most important thing. Whatever training style you use, make sure you're getting stronger on some level and you will get gains.